The hardest truth about money is that money is not always the problem. That sounds strange at first because so many people spend their lives believing that if they just had more money, everything would finally feel better. They imagine that a bigger paycheck would fix the stress, a better job would fix the struggle, a lucky break would fix the pain, and a sudden windfall would solve the pressure that has been sitting on their chest for years. But the reality is deeper than that. Money does not stay where discipline is absent. Money does not grow where chaos is welcomed. Money does not remain where impulse rules the mind. Money does not multiply in a life where habits keep pulling a person backward. And that is why so many people stay broke even when opportunities appear in front of them. The real issue is not always how much money they make. The real issue is what they do with the money, what they do with their time, what they do with their mind, and what they do every single day when no one is watching. Your life is being built by habits. Your future is being shaped by repeated actions. Your results are not random. They are rehearsed. They are practiced. They are multiplied. And if you keep repeating broke habits, you will keep producing a broke life. That truth can hurt at first because it removes excuses. It removes the comfort of blaming everything on the world, on bad luck, on the economy, on other people, on family, on timing, on circumstances, on not having the right connections, and on not being born in the right place. Sometimes those things do matter. Sometimes life is unfair. Sometimes the road is harder for some people than for others. That is real. But even with all of that truth on the table, another truth remains standing just as strongly. Your habits still matter. Your choices still matter. Your routines still matter. Your self-control still matters. Because the habits you repeat will either protect your future or destroy it quietly, day after day, in ways you may not notice until the damage is already deep. A person can earn good money and still live broke because of the way they spend. A person can have opportunities and still remain trapped because of the way they think. A person can have talent and still live in struggle because of the way they delay, distract, and self-sabotage. This is why the title of this message is not just a phrase. It is a warning. It is a mirror. It is a wake-up call. Habits are keeping too many people broke. And until those habits change, the cycle will continue. Let me tell you a story about a young man named Daniel. Daniel was not lazy in the way people sometimes imagine lazy people to be. He was not sitting around doing nothing all day. He worked. He hustled. He made money. He had moments when he felt hopeful. He would get paid, look at his account, and promise himself that this time would be different. He would say, "This month I will save." He would say, "This month I will stop spending on nonsense." He would say, "This month I will get serious." But every time his money came in, his habits came out. He bought things he did not need. He spent it to impress people who were not even thinking about him. He ordered food when he had food at home. He treated every payday like a celebration instead of a responsibility. He told himself he deserved it because life had been hard. And that is the thing about bad habits. They often feel comfortable. They often feel relieved. They often feel like a reward. But comfort without discipline becomes a trap. Relief without wisdom becomes a leak. Reward without restraint becomes regret. Daniel was not broke because he had no income. He was broke because he had no structure. His money kept leaving faster than it arrived because his habits were stronger than his goals. One night Daniel sat alone and looked at his bank account with a strange emptiness inside him. The money had come and gone again. He had worked long hours, but he could not feel proud because he had nothing to show for it except temporary fun and permanent frustration. He remembered every impulse purchase. He remembered every time he told himself, "It is just this once." He remembered every time he ignored his own future in the name of short-term pleasure. And for the first time he did not blame his job. He did not blame his boss. He did not blame the city. He did not blame the government. He did not blame his family. He looked at himself honestly and realized the enemy was not a lack of income alone. The enemy was a pattern. The enemy was undisciplined spending. The enemy was emotional buying. The enemy was the need to feel good now at the cost of peace later. That realization was painful, But pain can become powerful when it is used properly. Can become the starting line of a new life. Daniel decided that night that he was tired of repeating a cycle that humiliated him every month. He was tired of feeling rich for 5 minutes and broke for 29 days. He was tired of promising change and never building it. And that was the moment his real transformation began. What changed Daniel first was not his income. It was his habit. He started tracking every expense, not because he loved numbers, but because he finally respected the truth. He stopped pretending small purchases were small when they happened repeatedly. He noticed how much money disappeared through food delivery, impulse buys, subscriptions he forgot about, unnecessary convenience, and emotional spending after stressful days. He learned that broke is not always dramatic. Sometimes broke is quiet. Sometimes broke is the result of 100 tiny decisions that seemed harmless in the moment. One snack here. One unnecessary app there. One excuse today. One splurge tomorrow. One careless weekend. One unplanned purchase. One avoidable fee. One borrowed moment of pleasure that turned into a stolen month of progress. Daniel began to understand that wealth is built in the ordinary moments where discipline speaks louder than desire. That is why habits matter. Because your habits are what you do often enough to become your life. They are the invisible architecture of your destiny. They decide whether money stays, whether opportunities multiply, whether stress is managed, whether time is wasted, and whether your future is built or blocked. There is a dangerous lie many people believe, and that lie says, "Once I make more money, then I will get my life together." That sounds reasonable, but it is often backwards. Because if you cannot manage $10 well, $50 will not magically fix your character. If you cannot handle your time with care, a better paycheck will not give you discipline. If you cannot control impulse at a small scale, more resources will only amplify the same weakness. More money in the hands of bad habits does not create freedom. Creates faster failure. That is why so many lottery winners, high earners, and sudden success stories still fall apart. The money changed, but the habits did not. Life changed, but discipline did not. The income changed, but the mind remained the same. And when the mind remains the same, wealth has no strong foundation to stand on. Slips through the cracks. This is not about shaming people. This is about awakening them. Because once you understand that your habits matter more than your wishful thinking, you can finally begin to build differently. Let us speak about one of the biggest habits keeping people broke. Spending to satisfy emotion. Many people do not spend money because they need the item. They spend because they need relief. They spend because they are stressed, lonely, bored, angry, rejected, anxious, or tired. They spend time feeling in control for a moment. They spend it to reward themselves after a hard day. They spend it to escape discomfort. They spend it to prove they are not behind. They spend because social media showed them a life they want to imitate. They spend because they want to feel successful before they have actually built success. That kind of spending is dangerous because it is emotional, not intentional. It is driven by a mood, not a plan. And a life ruled by mood will never produce lasting wealth. Wealth needs intention. Wealth needs calm. Wealth needs delayed gratification. Wealth needs the ability to say no to a craving now so you can say yes to a stronger future later. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you build a richer life inside yourself before the money even catches up. Another habit that keeps people broke is failing to respect time. Time is money, yes, but it is even more than money. Time is life. Time is an opportunity. Time is the space where your future is being shaped. And yet so many people waste hours every day in ways that produce nothing. They scroll endlessly. They procrastinate constantly. They start and stop. They dream and delay. They complain and distract themselves. They spend more time thinking about success than building success. They say they want freedom, but they use their hours in ways that make freedom impossible. Because if your day is full of empty habits, your life will be full of empty results. You cannot create a better financial future with a mind that has no respect for time. You cannot build wealth while living in perpetual distraction. You cannot grow if every day disappears into entertainment, gossip, excuses, and meaningless noise. Person who learns to respect time learns to respect life. And a person who respects life begins to move like someone whose future actually matters. There was another person, a woman named Amina, whose life looked quiet on the outside but was full of frustration on the inside. She never felt like she had enough. No matter how much she earned, she always reached the end of the month with no room to breathe. She was not spending wildly in obvious ways. Her problem was subtle, which made it dangerous. She gave too much money away to people who never returned it. She said yes when she should have said no. She felt guilty charging for her work properly. She underpriced her value because she feared losing opportunities. She would cover for everyone else but never cover herself. She was generous, but her generosity had no boundaries. She was kind, but her kindness had no structure. She helped people at her own expense, then wondered why she always felt financially behind. That is another habit that keeps people broke. The inability to protect your money with clear boundaries. If you have no boundaries, your money becomes public property. Everyone has a reason, a request, a story, a need, a crisis, an emergency. And before long your resources are gone before they have a chance to build your life. Amina had to learn that saying no is not selfish when saying yes keeps destroying your stability. She had to learn that being helpful is not the same as being available for every demand. She had to learn that giving without wisdom can become another form of self-betrayal. And this lesson changed her. She began saving first. She began planning her expenses. She began separating needs from pressure. She began understanding that helping people is beautiful, but helping everyone at your own cost is not noble. It is unsustainable, creates bitterness, creates exhaustion. It creates the kind of quiet resentment that slowly poisons the heart. Amina's financial life improved when she stopped treating every request like a moral obligation. She learned that protecting her money was not a betrayal of others. It was loyalty to her own future. That is a lesson many people need. Because broken habits are not only about buying too much. Sometimes they are about weak boundaries, weak planning, weak self-respect, and weak long-term thinking. A person who does not respect their own future will keep leaking it to the present. Another habit keeping people broke is the addiction to instant gratification. We live in a world that constantly trains the mind to want everything now. Fast food, fast entertainment, fast approval, fast comfort, fast dopamine, fast results. The world keeps whispering, take it now, feel good now, enjoy now, decide later. But wealth is built by people who can delay pleasure. Wealth is built by people who can sit in discomfort long enough to create a better tomorrow. Wealth is built by people who understand that not every desire deserves immediate action. Not every craving deserves attention. Not every emotional urge deserves a transaction. Sometimes the strongest financial decision you can make is the one nobody sees. The meal you did not order. The gadget you did not buy. The trip you did not take. The urge you did not obey. The status you did not chase. These quiet decisions create loud results over time. They build the character needed for wealth to stay. Daniel learned this when he made a rule for himself. Every time he felt the urge to buy something unnecessary, he would wait 24 hours before making the purchase. First, it felt frustrating. He had to confront how much of his spending was driven by emotion rather than need. But after a while, he noticed something important. Most of the things he wanted did not matter the next day. The urgency faded. The craving lost power. The pressure disappeared. And money stayed where it used to leak. That simple delay changed his life. That is how habits work. They do not just control your bank account. They control your freedom. If you cannot delay gratification, you remain a servant to impulse. But if you learn patience, you become powerful. Because patience allows wisdom to enter the room before money leaves it. Let us talk about another habit that keeps people broke. Being around the wrong environment. Your environment shapes your decisions more than most people want to admit. If everyone around you spends carelessly, overshares their financial stress, mocks discipline, and celebrates image over substance, you will feel pressure to conform. If the people around you treat money like a toy, you will struggle to treat it like a tool. If your circle normalizes being behind, being in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and always being one emergency away from disaster, then the atmosphere itself will train you to accept less. Human beings are deeply influenced by the patterns they see repeated around them. That is why your circle matters. Not because you need perfect people. Not because everyone around you must be wealthy. But because repeated habits become normal in whatever environment you live in. If you want a different life, you must eventually get close to different standards. You cannot expect a new future while remaining loyal to a circle that keeps pulling you backward. A young man named Kareem discovered this the hard way. He had ambition, but his friends laughed at discipline. They mocked saving money. They mocked budgeting. They mocked working extra. They mocked reading books. They mocked anyone who wanted more than the bare minimum. They thought being broke was funny as long as everyone was broke together. That environment nearly destroyed Kareem's future because it normalized stagnation. Every time he tried to change, he felt pressure to fit in. Every time he tried to be serious, he was called boring. Every time he wanted to build, he was teased for acting differently. But eventually, he realized something powerful. If your environment requires you to stay small in order to belong, then belonging there is too expensive. That realization gave him courage. He did not cut everyone off in anger, but he stopped taking direction from a crowd that was committed to mediocrity. He started spending more time with people who talked about growth, skill, responsibility, and long-term thinking. Slowly, his habits changed because his environment changed. That is not luck. That is intentionality. Another habit keeping people broke is not learning useful skills. Many people want money, but they do not want to become more valuable. They want income, but they do not want capability. They want opportunities, but they do not want preparation. They want the reward without the development. But money often follows value, follows usefulness, follows skill, follows problem solving. It follows consistency. Person who keeps learning can adapt. Person who keeps improving becomes harder to ignore. Person who builds real ability creates leverage. This is not only about formal education. It is about learning how to communicate well, how to solve problems, how to use technology, how to sell, how to create, how to manage, how to write, how to design, how to lead, how to think. Your future gets stronger when your skill set gets stronger. If you remain the same while expecting a better life, you are hoping without building. And hope without building is one of the easiest ways to remain stuck. That is why one of the most practical things a person can do is begin to invest in themselves. Not in a flashy, vain way, but in a disciplined way. Learn one useful skill deeply. Learn how to communicate clearly. Learn how to manage your money. Learn how to use your time. Learn how to show up consistently. Learn how to deliver value. Learn how to focus without needing constant applause. Learn how to become reliable. Reliable people are rare. Reliable people are valuable. Reliable people build trust. And trust opens doors. There are people with no talent but extraordinary discipline who move far because they are dependable. There are people with talent who remain unseen because they never build consistency. The world is full of gifted broke people. The missing ingredient is often not ability. It is a habit. It is discipline. It is my responsibility. It is the decision to become the kind of person who can hold more without falling apart. Now let us speak directly about the mind. A broken life often begins in a broken mind. A mind that expects little will often create little. A mind that is always comparing, always envying, always doubting, always complaining, will struggle to create anything steady. Because the mind leads the hands. What you believe determines what you pursue. What you tolerate determines what you repeat. What you think about yourself determines how you handle money, opportunity, and responsibility. If you secretly believe you are not capable of building wealth, you will sabotage your own progress before it has a chance to mature. If you believe wealthy people are all dishonest, you may unconsciously reject the discipline required to become one. If you believe being broke is just your destiny, you will make peace with habits that should be confronted. That is why mindset matters so deeply. It is not just motivational talk. It is the foundation of behavior. Changed life begins with a changed mind. Daniel had to confront his own beliefs. He had grown up hearing scarcity so often that it felt normal. People around him constantly said, "Money does not last. Rich people are lucky. You cannot save in this economy. You only live once. Spend it while you have it." Those messages sunk into him quietly over the years. He did not even know they were shaping his identity. But they were. They were helping him explain away self-discipline before he had even learned it. One day he realized that the way he spoke about money was connected to the way he behaved with money. When he said money never stayed, he was almost inviting it to leave. When he said he could not save, he was excusing the lack of structure. When he laughed off discipline, he was making a joke out of his own future. So he changed the way he thought. He began to say, "I can learn. I can improve. I can become responsible. I can build slowly. I can live below my means. I can create stability." That shift did not make him rich overnight, but it made him capable. And capability is the seed of wealth. Let us be honest about something else. Some people stay broke because they are addicted to looking rich instead of becoming stable. They spend money to look successful while their real life is collapsing. They buy clothes before they build savings. They chase appearances before they chase security. They post images of a lifestyle they cannot afford and then suffer privately later. This habit is dangerous because it trains a person to choose image over reality. But image cannot pay bills. Image cannot build an emergency fund. Image cannot cover a crisis. Image cannot rescue a future that was never prepared for. There is nothing wrong with looking good. But there is something deeply wrong with pretending to be rich while being financially fragile. Stability is more valuable than performance. Security is more powerful than appearance. A person who is quietly building is far ahead of a person who is loudly pretending. The world may clap for the illusion, but life always asks for the truth. Another habit that keeps people broke is inconsistency. Many people have great starts and poor finishes. They begin with energy but cannot sustain it. They get inspired for a week, then disappear for a month. They start budgeting and then abandon it. They start a side project and then stop when it becomes difficult. They wake up early for a few days and then return to chaos. They read one book and assume they are transformed. They make one good decision and think the work is done. But wealth is not built on emotional highs. It is built on repeated boring actions that compound over time. People often underestimate boredom. They think success should always feel exciting. Should not. Some of the most important habits are not thrilling. They are quiet, repetitive, and unglamorous. Saving consistently, tracking spending, learning daily, showing up on time, working when no one is cheering, saying no when everyone else is saying yes, building when nothing looks impressive yet. That is where the future is created. Not in excitement but in repetition. A person who becomes consistent will eventually outperform a person who only becomes intense. Intensity can start a fire, but consistency keeps it alive. That is true in money, in business, in education, in fitness, in relationships, and in personal growth. If you want a better life, you must become someone who can be trusted by your own future. Your future self must be able to look back at your decisions today and say, "Thank you for not quitting. Thank you for not wasting all your energy. Thank you for not giving up when it got boring. Thank you for not returning to the habits that kept us broke." That kind of self-respect is priceless. It is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about becoming the kind of person who can be counted on by your own dreams. There is also a habit that keeps people broke in a deeper sense. The habit of giving up too soon. Many opportunities take time to mature. Many skills take time to produce results. Many businesses take time to become stable. Many personal changes take time to become visible. But people quit when progress is slow because they expect an instant return. They think if it is not happening fast, it must not be working. They confuse delay with failure. They confuse small beginnings with insignificance. They confuse invisible progress with no progress at all. But the seeds that become forests do not become trees in a day. The same is true for life. What you build today may look small, But small consistent actions compound into something massive. The first savings habit may look tiny. The first skill practice may feel ordinary. The first discipline month may not impress anyone. But these things matter. They are proof that you are no longer living like your old habits are in charge. They are the beginning of something better. A woman named Sanaa changed her life through small decisions that seemed almost too small to matter. She started by cooking at home more often. Then she stopped buying things just because they were on sale. Then she canceled subscriptions she did not use. Then she wrote down every expense. Then she began setting aside money before she touched anything else. Then she learned a new skill in the evenings instead of spending hours on distraction. Then she started asking herself before every purchase, do I need this, or do I just want to feel better for a moment? That simple question saved her from many unnecessary expenses. Over time she built a buffer. Then she built confidence. Then she built options. And options are one of the first signs of financial growth. When you are broke, life feels narrow. When you build habits that create margin, life opens. You can think clearly. You can breathe. You can prepare. You can choose. That is freedom. And freedom is not only about having more money. It is about not being controlled by panic. Many people underestimate the cost of panic. When a person lives in constant financial panic, they make worse decisions. They are easily manipulated. They take the first offer even if it is bad. They spend recklessly when they finally get cash because they are emotionally starved. They are always reacting, never planning. And reaction is expensive. Calm mind makes better choices. A disciplined mind creates room. Planned life saves money in ways most people never notice. Preparation prevents emergencies from becoming disasters. That is why habits matter so much. A habit of saving, a habit of planning, a habit of thinking before spending, a habit of working with focus, a habit of protecting your time, a habit of learning constantly, a habit of keeping promises to yourself. All of these create a life that is harder to break. They do not remove every challenge, but they make you stronger than the challenge. And this is where mindset and discipline meet. Person who changes habits often begins to change identity. At first, they say, I am trying to be responsible. Later they say, I am becoming responsible. And eventually they say, I am a responsible person. That identity shift matters because it changes the decisions they make when no one is watching. When a person sees themselves as careless, they keep living carelessly. When they see themselves as disciplined, they begin acting in ways that protect the future they want. Identity drives behavior, and behavior drives results. So if you want to stop being broke, you cannot only chase money. You must become the kind of person whose habits can hold money without losing it. This means becoming steady, means becoming honest, means becoming thoughtful, means becoming less reactive. It means becoming less impressed by flashy things. It means becoming more committed to substance than show. Because wealth is often built by people who are willing to live quietly while they grow. The quiet phase is important. It is where many people quit because nobody is clapping. They want evidence quickly. They want visible rewards quickly. They want proof quickly. But the quiet phase is where character hardens into strength. It is where the decision becomes real. If you can budget when no one knows, you can budget when money increases. If you can stay focused when no one praises you, you can stay focused when the pressure gets heavier. If you can keep your word to yourself in secret, you can trust yourself in public. That trust is everything. Many people do not realize that the biggest thing that breaks habits is not only money. They steal trust. They make you doubt yourself. They make promises to themselves that make them feel weak. They make your own words feel flexible. And once that trust is damaged, it becomes harder to build any future with confidence. That is why changing habits is also about restoring self-trust. Every time you do what you said you would do, you become stronger inside. Let us also speak about the habit of blaming. Blaming feels good for a moment because it moves the pain outside of you. It lets you say, it is their fault. It is the economy. It is my family. It is my past. It is my boss. It is bad luck. And sometimes those things are part of the story, but they are not the whole story. If blaming becomes your main habit, you lose the power to change what is still in your hands. Responsibility is uncomfortable, but it is also empowering. Responsibility says, maybe I cannot control everything, but I can control something. That something matters. It might be your spending, might be your schedule, it might be your skill development, might be your boundaries, might be your attention, might be your consistency. The moment you stop waiting for life to change before you change yourself, your progress begins. That is the difference between people who remain stuck and people who move forward. Stuck people keep asking who to blame. Growing people ask what to build. Kareem learned this after wasting years blaming others for his lack of progress. He blamed his neighborhood. He blamed his teachers. He blamed bad timing. He blamed his parents for not giving him a better starting point. Some of those complaints had truth in them, but they were still incomplete. Because while he was blaming, he was not building. One day he got tired of hearing himself explain his stagnation. He started asking better questions. What can I learn today? What can I stop doing today? What can I improve this month? What habit is killing my future? What daily pattern is leaking my potential? Those questions changed him because they moved his attention from the outside world to the part of life he could actually shape. He began reading daily. He stopped wasting entire evenings in distractions. He learned to wake up earlier. He started using the hours between work and sleep as a place for growth instead of escape. Nothing magical happened in one night, but the direction changed. And when direction changes, destiny follows. Another habit that keeps people broke is refusing to become uncomfortable on purpose. Growth often requires discomfort. Saving money requires discomfort because it says no to the present. Learning a skill requires discomfort because it stretches the mind. Building a side income requires discomfort because it demands effort after a long day. Changing your circle requires discomfort because it can feel lonely. Saying no requires discomfort because some people will not like it. Delayed gratification requires discomfort because it challenges craving. But every healthy financial life has passed through discomfort. The question is not whether discomfort will happen. The question is whether you will use it or avoid it. People who avoid discomfort often remain trapped. People who learn to use discomfort become stronger. They understand that not every uncomfortable moment is a threat. Some are training. Some are preparation. Some are the price of the life you keep saying you want. If your life feels stuck, ask yourself where you keep choosing comfort over growth. Ask where you keep choosing the easier path that gives temporary relief but long-term pain. Ask where you keep making the same decisions because change feels too demanding. Ask where you keep delaying the work that would make tomorrow better. These questions are not meant to shame you. They are meant to wake you up. Because the earlier you see a habit clearly, the sooner you can change it. And habit change begins with honest awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to name. You cannot heal what you keep minimizing. You cannot improve what you keep romanticizing. If the habit is harmful, call it harmful. If the pattern is destructive, call it destructive. Then begin the work of replacing it. Replacement is key. It is not enough to remove a bad habit. You must replace it with a better one. If you stop spending impulsively, begin tracking your spending. If you stop wasting hours on distractions, replace them with focused work or learning. If you stop saying yes to everyone, replace it with boundaries and planning. If you stop living paycheck to paycheck in your mind, replace that mindset with budgeting, saving, and patience. If you stop chasing status, replace it with substance. If you stop thinking money will save you, replace it with the understanding that your habits must become stronger. Every old habit loses power when a better structure takes its place. Empty space is dangerous because the old behavior returns when there is nothing new to occupy that space. So build intentionally. Build daily. Build with patience. Daniel eventually learned to replace his old habits with systems. He automated savings. He created spending limits. He wrote monthly goals. He removed the apps that triggered impulsive buying. He planned his meals so he would not waste money on random food. He set a weekly review to check his progress. He began waking up with a purpose instead of a vague desire to do better. He learned to ask, "What does my future need from me today?" That question became powerful because it forced him to think beyond his immediate mood. And that is the kind of question that changes lives. Not, "What do I feel like doing?" but, "What does my future need?" That mindset is a bridge between desire and discipline. Teaches you to live as if your future is important enough to protect. The same principle applies to relationships with money, but it also applies to every area of life. If you eat carelessly, your body pays. If you sleep badly, your energy pays. If you spend without thinking, your finances pay. If you procrastinate constantly, your opportunities pay. If you surround yourself with negative influences, your mindset pays. Habits always collect a debt or deliver a dividend. There is no neutral. Every repeated action either builds or breaks something. That is why a serious life requires serious habits. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about moving away from the habits that quietly sabotage you and moving toward the habits that make your life stronger. A little discipline repeated daily becomes a force. A little care repeated daily becomes stability. A little focus repeated daily becomes an achievement. A little restraint repeated daily becomes freedom. Do not underestimate the power of small changes. Many people think transformation must be dramatic to be real. Does not. Real transformation often begins with tiny corrections that seem too ordinary to matter. Drinking less and saving more. Cooking at home and ordering out less. Reading for 20 minutes instead of scrolling for 2 hours. Saying no to one unnecessary purchase. Waking up 30 minutes earlier. Writing down goals. Tracking expenses. Cutting back on drama. Avoiding people who celebrate irresponsibility. Practicing a skill daily. Applying for better opportunities. Sticking to the plan when emotions fluctuate. These choices may seem small, but they are the bricks of a new life. You do not build a house by wishing. You build it brick by brick. A broke life often stays broken because the person wants the finished house but rejects the bricks. Discipline is the brick. Consistency is the mortar. Patience is the foundation. And time reveals the structure. One of the most freeing truths you can learn is that you do not need to wait for motivation to change your habits. Motivation is useful, but it is unstable. Discipline is stronger. Discipline tells the truth when motivation disappears. Discipline shows up when the mood is gone. Discipline remembers the goal when excitement fades. Discipline is the quiet force that keeps the future alive when the present gets boring. If you want to stop being broke, do not wait to feel like it. Start with structure. Build routines. Create systems. Remove friction from good habits and add friction to bad ones. Make wise choices easier and bad choices harder. Keep your money where you cannot easily reach it for careless spending. Keep your goals visible. Keep your progress recorded. Keep your environment aligned with your standards. Create a life that supports your success instead of constantly interrupting it. That is practical wisdom. And practical wisdom changes lives. There is another important habit to address. The habit of comparing your beginning to someone else's middle or end. Comparison can keep people broke in the mind long before it affects the bank account. If you keep looking at other people's luxury while ignoring your own foundation, you will feel ashamed of the very habits that could save you. Comparison can make you restless, can push you to spend on image, can pressure you to fake progress, can make you feel behind even when you are actually building. And when a person feels behind, they often make emotional decisions instead of strategic ones. But your life is not a race against someone else's highlight reel. Your job is to improve your own habits so your own future becomes stronger. Celebrate progress. Respect small wins. Stay in your lane. Build with honesty. The person who grows steadily may look slower than the person who performs loudly, but steady growth lasts. Performance often fades. Another habit that keeps people broke is pride. Pride refuses help. Pride refuses correction. Pride refuses simplicity. Pride says, "I know what I am doing," even when the results say otherwise. Pride keeps a person stuck because they would rather look strong than become wise. But wisdom is often humble. It asks for feedback. It learns from mistakes. It adjusts. It admits what is not working. Takes advice without feeling attacked. It understands that being wrong is not the end of dignity. Refusing to grow is. If your habits are keeping you broke, one of the first things to examine is whether pride is blocking change. Can you accept corrections? Can you admit where your money is leaking? Can you be honest about your distractions? Can you face the truth without defending the very patterns that are hurting you? Humility opens the door to transformation. Pride locks it. Sana learned humility when she finally admitted that she had been pretending to be financially fine while living on the edge every month. She had no cushion, no peace, no margin, and no plan. She was embarrassed to admit it, but once she did, she could begin to fix it. She asked better questions. She accepted advice. She made a budget and stuck to it. She stopped reacting emotionally to money and began responding thoughtfully. Her life got better not because she became perfect, but because she stopped pretending. Pretending is expensive. Honesty is powerful. Every habit change begins with truth. That is why some people stay broke for years. They are too proud to tell themselves the truth about their own pattern. They know the issue, but they keep minimizing it. They know what needs to change, but they keep delaying. They know what they keep doing wrong, but they keep hoping life will forgive the habit without requiring a replacement. It will not. Life rewards alignment, not excuses. If you are serious about changing your financial future, start by changing the daily rhythm of your life. Wake up with intention. Write down what matters. Control your spending before it controls you. Learn one skill that can increase your value. Protect your time. Reduce waste. Reduce noise. Reduce impulse. Increase discipline. Increase focus. Increase patience. Increase awareness. Create routines that make success easier. Success should not feel like a sudden miracle. It should feel like the result of repeated structure. The more you build structure, the less your life depends on mood. The less your life depends on mood, the more stable your future becomes. That is how people move from chaos to control. Not by luck but by habits. Not by luck but by repetition. Not by luck but by intentional living. There will be days when you do not feel like changing. There will be moments when the old habit calls your name. There will be times when the quick reward seems sweeter than the slow reward. There will be pressure from people who do not understand your discipline. There will be temptations to drift back into the familiar. That is normal. Growth is not about never being tempted. Growth is about choosing differently when temptation appears. Every time you choose the better path, you reinforce a new identity. Every time you say no to waste, you say yes to growth. Every time you resist impulse, you strengthen your future. Every time you honor the plan, you become more trustworthy to yourself. And self-trust is one of the greatest assets a person can have. When you trust yourself, you stop living in confusion. You stop feeling powerless. You stop making your own life a mystery. You become a person with direction. That direction will change the way you see money. Money will stop feeling like something that disappears mysteriously and start feeling like something you can manage deliberately. Money will stop feeling like a source of stress and start feeling like a tool. You will learn that money behaves according to the system surrounding it. If the system is careless, money escapes. If the system is disciplined, money stays and grows. If the system is reactive, money vanishes. If the system is intentional, money multiplies in value through wise use. This is why wealthy people often seem obsessed with routine. They are not obsessed with routine because it is exciting. They are obsessed with routine because routine protects outcomes. It reduces chaos, keeps the mind clear. It preserves energy for meaningful work, turns uncertainty into a managed process. That is not boring. That is powerful. And there is something else that must be said. Being broke is not a moral failure, but refusing to grow is a choice. Many good people are struggling. Many hardworking people are under pressure. Many families are doing their best and still facing hardship. That deserves respect and compassion. But compassion does not cancel responsibility. If you know a habit is leaking your future and you keep feeding it anyway, you are no longer just struggling. You are participating in your own stagnation. The good news is that participation can be reversed. A new habit can begin today. A new standard can begin today. A new decision can begin today. You do not need permission to change your life. You need a decision. You need repetition. You need patience. You need courage. You need to stop waiting for a miracle to replace the work. The miracle often comes through the work. Imagine what your life would look like if for the next year you treated your habits like they mattered. Imagine if you tracked what you spend, what you save, what you learn, how you use your time, who you spend your energy with, and how often you keep promises to yourself. Imagine if every day you made one choice that the future will thank you for. Imagine if you stopped buying to impress and started building to last. Imagine if you stopped looking for escape and started looking for structure. Imagine if you stopped saying someday and started saying today. That kind of living can transform a whole life, can turn stress into strategy, can turn chaos into order, can turn small progress into a new identity. And once that identity takes hold, the money usually starts to follow the structure you have built. The reason this message matters so deeply is because many people are waiting for a better future while continuing the habits that cause the current pain. They want different results without different behavior. They want to be free but keep feeding the chains. They want abundance but keep honoring waste. They want progress but keep ignoring discipline. That is why the message must be strong. Not to shame but to wake up. Not to crush but to challenge. Not to condemn but to guide. Because the habits keeping you broke are not always obvious. Sometimes they hide in plain sight. Sometimes they look harmless. Sometimes they even look fun. But if they are producing stress, scarcity, regret, and stagnation, they are not harmless. They are costly. And the cost is often your future. So let this be the turning point. Let this be the day you stop romanticizing the habits that are hurting you. Let this be the day you stop pretending small leaks do not matter. Let this be the day you stop making excuses for the patterns that keep you stuck. Let this be the day you choose discipline over impulse, structure over chaos, patience over pressure, and growth over comfort. You do not need to transform overnight. You only need to begin honestly. Begin with one expense tracked, one unnecessary habit removed, one skill learned, one distraction reduced, one budget created, one goal written, one morning used wisely, one decision made with the future in mind. Do that again tomorrow, then again the next day. That is how a new life starts. Not with noise but with repetition. And if the people around you do not understand your change, let them wonder. If they laugh at your restraint, let them laugh. If they mock your discipline, let them mock. A life built on habits that support your future does not need everyone's applause. Needs your consistency, needs your patience, it needs your commitment, needs your courage. It needs the version of you that is no longer willing to stay broken in mind, broken in routine, and trapped in a cycle that can be changed. You are not meant to live under the weight of careless habits forever. You are meant to grow beyond them. You are meant to build. You are meant to become stable. You are meant to become wise with money, wise with time, wise with energy, wise with your decisions. You are meant to create a life that reflects discipline and freedom. So now, take a deep breath and tell yourself the truth. The habits are the issue. The habits are the turning point. The habits are the path out. If I change my habits, I change my life. If I change my daily choices, I change my future. If I stop feeding the pattern, I stop feeding the poor. If I honor discipline, I honor my future self. If I respect time, money, and consistency, I can build a different life. That is not fantasy. That is how transformation works. Small, honest decisions, repeated over time, become a new reality. And when your reality changes, your confidence changes too. You begin to carry yourself differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to expect more from yourself and less from excuses. You begin to see that growth was always possible, but only if you were willing to become serious about the habits that shape your days. Do not wait for some perfect moment to start. Perfect moments are rare, and they often arrive disguised as ordinary days. Start today. Start imperfectly. Start with what you have. Start with one better choice. Start with one decision that protects your future. Start with one habit that moves you away from broken living and toward disciplined living. Your future is listening. Your future is being built. Your future is not asking for perfection. It is asking for consistency. And consistency begins when you decide that the habits keeping you broke will no longer be allowed to own your life. This is your moment to rise. This is your moment to change. This is your moment to build. This is your moment to become the person your future has been waiting for.